We have been at this for a minute or two. Welcome. It's River. Hey there. If you are new, thank you so much for joining. If you have been here before, welcome back. And thank you for your patience as we navigate these systems. Here we are. Whoa, I thought we had it. And it's another episode of the Chiron Report. Maybe you shall discover your next steps here. Maybe some stress is relieved so you can move forward as you wish to take care of your needs and desires. Glory be. And 17th of April 2026, 17th. Diku. I'm practicing my Finnish. That's April in Finnish. Diku. Pardon my Finnish. And we have a few things here to share in this reading to help shift from here to there. And overall, maybe you could say this session is to prove continuity of life, personal survival, and personal unfoldment. You know, continuity, it is one of the themes in our history classes, those of you in the U.S. curriculum and perhaps abroad in other countries as well. Continuity is one of the themes in history, or continuity. And so perhaps you appreciate that, and that's enough for you to join this virtual circle. Or you might care to experience directly, personally, the alchemy of lifelong learning or lifelong loss. There's alchemy with both. That alchemy of education and the outcome. You may learn more about Adoption Spirit Magic 101 through PhD level, bits and pieces like the language, the magic, the spelling, the card game, the dream weaving. You may see more how to realign yourself or feel more aligned after taking in this session. Again, you may feel stress relieved. So you may move forward, evolving, unfolding, growing, developing, healing as you wish, as you need, as you and life keep changing. You may hear alternative points of view, different stories to help you see things in a different light, to help you know more how to move forward on your path at this stage of the game with what you know now. And what else? A roadmap. You may see a roadmap appearing before you, the next steps appearing before you, one step at a time. Sometimes is all you need is one step, right? And like when you're walking up the stairs, right? Martin Luther King knows. Martin Luther King Jr., glory be. And let's see, what else do we want to share before we jump in? We are not a doctor, lawyer, therapist. We're a fortune teller, shaman, folk artist. Our readings are no substitute for the doctor, lawyer, therapist. Thank you for seeking them out for the relevant times, using your gifts of discernment before deciding what to adopt and take away as your own from this reading. And you know, everybody's a different psychosociology experiment, and what works for one may not for another. So again, thank you for using your gift of discernment before deciding what to gather and take away, adopting as your own. So essential for free will to unfold. And so we hope we offer you that space to make your choices. You know, don't let us tell you what to do, right? That would be tyranny. But maybe we offer some ideas or some alternative paths that resonate and feel like, well, maybe I could work with that, or maybe you take the idea and totally adapt it to fit yourself, however that works. And this session is aligned with K-12 standards, math and science, fine arts, language arts, U.S. history, world history, Roman history, psychology, sociology, and also psychic mediumship and Reiki and crystal energy healing. And of course, we're not perfect, so we keep throwing on the table the card that says nobody's perfect. Life's for learning to tolerate, starting with self. Careful to avoid the tricky flip side that says she'll never learn, off with the head. And every time we say that she, we imagine a slash in between the S and the H, so it could be she or he. And maybe, you decide you're going to change it to be more representative of you, and that's awesome, right? Because we're all different psychosociology experiments. It's so thrilling to be here with you, helping co-create this new earth grounded in unarmed truths and unconditional love. Again, thanks to Martin Luther King Jr. for so much guidance while he was here, and also from beyond. I'm feeling him now, bringing out more of his words. And perhaps you recognize them and can share them in the comments. And also, if you care to timestamp something, you just put the double number and then a hyphen and then the second double number. So if it was like in minute 20 into the video that something resonated with you, you can put in the comments 01:20 and then write a title for what was so interesting for you at that point. So that might be fun for those willing to participate in that way. But of course, thank you for guarding your growth instead of feeling like you must like or comment or subscribe to any post, right? Again, everybody's a different psychosociology experiment, and we are just hoping to offer a little more space for you to do what you need to do to move from here to there, to flip over the fighting spirit card, to play through life with adoption spirit instead. All those times when the loss is so much that it makes us feel like we need to hurt ourselves or someone else, but we don't really want to do that. And so what do we do instead? And so maybe sessions like this assist playing our cards, playing through the loss with our cards instead of hurting ourselves and others, right? That loss, it's so predictable. And so how to play through it, because as predictable as it is, wow, sometimes it just blocks your development. You can't even think straight. And so what to do in those situations. And so maybe you find a couple tricks in here, a couple cards in here that help you move from here to there. But this Chiron's report, oh my, big news today. As you see, the sun is shining a light on everything. We have the sun at 26 degrees of Chiron, 59 minutes. We have Chiron, 26 degrees of Aries, and 40 minutes. And Chiron, that's his symbol. His name is actually spelled CH, like you see in chiropractic. And their chiropractic takes their name from Chiron. If you didn't know that already, that's thrilling news, isn't it? And then the moon, new moon tonight, 20 degrees of Aries. And I think that says 15 minutes. I might need to shut the curtain and turn on the light soon, because it's that time of the day. I need a little extra light to see, but not quite yet. So Aries, Chiron, oh my God, let's talk about Chiron. If you didn't see, we released our first episode of the Chiron Report yesterday and explained some of Chiron's story, but we can share again because that's fun, right? And so Chiron was discovered, astronomically speaking, in 1977. Astronomers discovered him in between Saturn and Neptune in the Kuiper belt, Kuiper, I believe is how that's spelled, Kuiper Belt. And in 1977, they thought he was an asteroid. And I can't remember the name they gave him off the top of my head. I mentioned it in yesterday's episode, in the first episode of the Chiron Report. I'll try to remember to list it in the description here. But then in 1989, they thought, oh, maybe he's a comet. And they gave him another name. And so he's half and half, asteroid, half comet. Astronomically speaking and astrologically speaking, there's a mythology behind Chiron. And it goes something like, well, before I dive too deep into Chiron, I'm going to bring in the Romany because they go together for fun and games in this session to maybe shed some light on some things. So imagine, put a pin in that for a minute, and imagine the caduceus, the symbol shown on many ambulances around the world. It's got a staff and a serpent going up each side of the staff, honoring that what works for some may not for another. The snake is that beautiful representation of transformation and growth, how they can shed their skin and begin again. And sometimes when they're shedding that skin, it looks like death, but they still come out alive and thriving and doing their thing. And so much more associated with that caduceus, but playing through the loss with these cards, that's part of the deal, right? We're playing through. So if this isn't resonating with you, or if it sounds off, thank you for quadruple, triple checking, honoring what resonates with you, and going with that. Of course, this is for fun and games and shits and giggles and entertainment and flexing our heart, mind, soul, body, emotions, and intuition. At the least, we hope to cause harm to none. At the most, we hope we may assist you on your healing path. And, nobody's perfect. Life's for learning to tolerate, starting with self. So, that being said, again, part of our duty is to repeat ourselves. So sometimes we do that. And so that caduceus has two snakes. And imagine one snake is Chiron and the other snake is the Romany, and that healing staff that may help us on our healing path. And Chiron was discovered by astronomers who brought him to the collective conscience in 1977. Romany had their first world conference outside of London in 1971. So Chiron and the Romany, commonly known as the Gypsy with a lowercase g. In our history books, that's what I was taught, and so many others. So Romany is a name that Romani prefer to be called instead of Gypsy. So Romany came to the collective consciousness in 1971, and so did Chiron in 1977. He didn't in 1971. Pardon me. It's not as easy to speak as it might appear. And so Chiron and the Romani came into the collective consciousness both in the 1970s. There, that's it. So we can imagine them, just for this purposes of this session, as part of the caduceus, the snake on either side, winding their way around, helping us in our healing, helping guide our healing. And we already know the loss is so much, it causes us to sometimes hurt ourselves and others, like in subtle ways to not so subtle ways. And for some reason, the day the Twin Towers tumbled is coming to my mind, right? That was the day that people were hurting so much they hurt themselves and others. And so many other ways that's played out, and we don't care to do that anymore, right? We're trying to step away from that and step into a high state of adoption where we play the adoption spirit side of the card instead of the fighting spirit side of the card. And if you've signed up to play this game, right? Again, we're playing through. This is a big thing about loss. It's so challenging. We have to play. And if it doesn't feel like play, maybe you feel comfortable changing the channel, and you're always welcome to change your mind and come back if you desire. But perhaps we've all been around, those who have been called to this video, we've been around enough to see that, loss is so devastating in our own lives and around us that we do things that, wow, we never imagined we'd do. We hurt ourselves and other people, and how to make amends for that and move forward and step away from the impulse to hurt ourselves and others when threatened, and instead to rise like a phoenix. Oh, let's see. Here we go. Switching a little bit, closing the curtain. Thank you for your patience. And so Chiron the Wounded Healer is his nickname. Going back to Chiron, now we have the caduceus in your head. You've got that image, the Romany, Chiron, taking up the snakes on either side of that caduceus. And now let's just come back to Chiron for a moment. So, oh, nope. I brought up that caduceus so I could weave them together. So let's do that. So Chiron was a centaur, which is half horse and half human. It is the year of the horse, 2026, in Chinese calendar. And his parents were disgusted with him and cast him off. Sort of like Romany, or you may know them as Gypsy, sort of like Romani, still learning how to say the name correctly. I am, even though I am one, right? This is what happens sometimes with adoption. And so Chiron was cast off by his parents, who were disgusted by him, sort of like Romani are discarded by the countries, the citizens in the countries where they reside, which is probably almost every nation on the planet, by disgusted people. Like Chiron and Romani have both had the experience of being discarded by people who are disgusted by them. So they have that in common. And can we just ring a bell right now for that energy that just came through, and take a moment? If there's any other future energies coming through, we can just remember this bell mantra by Thich Nhat Hanh and say it in our heads together and continue to move forward, but also honor the energies coming through. It's such a beautiful space we live in, and we enjoy sharing it with our neighbors and the people passing by. But we also want to honor that we're here in a session, and that may be startling, these interruptions. So any interruption that's coming through, or any entity that's coming through, you can ring that bell and say Thich Nhat Hanh's bell mantra, which goes something like this: mind, body, speech, in perfect oneness, I send my heart along with the sound of the bell. May hearers awaken from forgetfulness and transcend all anxiety and sorrow. Om. Peace. Shanti. Thank you. Thich Nhat Hanh, monk Thich Nhat Hanh, and his Plum Village, his legacy that carries on even though he is on the other side now. So thank you for that, Thich Nhat Hanh. And so Chiron, back to Chiron, and why we care to get a report on Chiron, and how this might help us move forward, take our next steps with where we are. Like, what does this have to do with, how does this have to do with us and our healing? So Chiron and the Romani both have had the experience of being discarded by people who are disgusted by them. And in Chiron's case, the half horse, half centaur, this half comes up, like maybe even within Romani cultures, like I'm half, I'm half Finnish and half Finnish Romani. And in some, I'm learning in some uh, segments of the Romani family that makes me, I think the word is marime, unclean, because I'm half, the word for non-Roma is gaje, and because I'm half gaje, that makes me marime, unclean. Because I'm half Finnish, that makes me unclean. And so Chiron and Romani, many Romani like me who are mixed half and half, and there's so many other people who may be able to relate to that, right? And all the different ways that plays out. Especially, that's our identity. That's a big part of our identity, and trying to balance that. So, what happened after Chiron was cast off? Well, he was adopted by Apollo. And Apollo, I think he's at 0 degrees down here at the bottom, this cosmic law of attraction. Leo energy. I think that's where Apollo is, astrologically speaking, right now. But mythologically speaking, Chiron was adopted by Apollo, and Chiron decided that, unlike all the other centaurs who were training to become warriors and fight in wars, he would become a healer. And so he did that. And he holed up at the bottom of Mount Olympus and offered healing treatments to whoever came seeking them. And he became very effective healer, helping people align. And again, we can look at modern day chiropractic for inspiration for Chiron in that way, and how chiropractic helps us align our systems. And it's such a beautiful treatment if that is something that resonates with you. It's simple maintenance that we can do to help keep ourselves aligned and physically, right? Our spinal cord, and which houses our spinal column, which houses our spinal cord, which is attached to our brain that runs everything. And so just taking sweet care of that, all the different ways we can do that. And so instead of becoming a warrior like all the other centaurs, Chiron's like, nope, I'm going to become a healer. And so maybe that inspires you to do something different, especially if you were adopted, like me, myself and I, we, us. Or if you want to be adopted, or if you're an orphan, or if you're a figurative gypsy, or literally a Romani, perhaps that inspires you to flip over the fighting spirit card too, and play through losses with adoption spirit instead. And maybe you even share healing treatments with yourself and your family and your friends and your community, like Chiron did, or total strangers. You're so inspired by his action. And around the world now, it's been the decade of Romani inclusions, switching to the other side of the caduceus and the other snake. Romani around the world since 2005 have been working the decade of Romani inclusion, which is very similar to No Child Left Behind, the U.S. Education Initiative, No Child Left Behind, morphing like a butterfly into Every Student Succeeds. Very similar, the decades of Romani inclusion are. And so Romani, like Chiron, have begun offering these healing treatments during the decade of Romani inclusion, trying to raise awareness and improve quality of life and life expectancy and positive futures, and that we thought happened back in after World War II, and all the other wars that claimed to free us, and the racism and end the slavery. And so now Chiron and the Romani are offering a different perspective, an alternative that maybe offers some relief with that. And how thrilling! The sun is shining a light on it. They are in the third decan of Aries, which is mastery and completing these lessons. Like, we have been through it, right? Especially since 2020, and maybe some of us for like 20 lifetimes. And so now we're at this mastery point where we're like, all right, I'll flip over the fighting spirit card. I'll play through with adoption spirit. I'll take that staff. I'll walk the path. And Mars's sister Eris is, she looks like Mars, but her arrow is pointing down. Eris is at 26 degrees of Aries as well. Eris is Eris, and Aries, the ram, the zodiac symbol, the ram. So 26, 26, 26, 26. Oh, 3 26s, 4 26s with the year we're in. Isn't that interesting? We could play around with that for a while. So, so helpful that Eris is here at this time. She's known as the uninvited feminine, and if I'm getting the mythology correct, she sent the Trojan horse. Like all the things we do when we're so, our amygdala has been triggered by loss, right? That's what happened. I think in a high state of adoption, immersed in adoption spirit magic, that seems to us, in our experiences, the fairest thing to say is that our amygdala got triggered by loss into authorizing cycles of fear, fight, flight, freeze, fuck, fawn. God bless it, and us all. And now we're learning how to decommission the amygdala. Eris has been hanging out with Chiron. The sun is shining light on this. The moon is supporting this. The moon, she changes rapidly, but she's right with it. She's like, oh yeah, I'm here. I got your back. It's time. If that's what you choose to do, this is where free will comes in, right? And perhaps your will didn't feel free before because your amygdala was so triggered by grief, loss, one loss after another, kept tripping your amygdala into authorizing fear, fight, flight, freeze, fuck, fawn, and we don't have to do that anymore. We can retreat, immerse into adoption spirit magic, immerse into a high state of adoption, and play the adoption spirit card instead. And so Eris has been learning how not to burn down the house. We can relate, not that we burnt down a house, but wow, you can see, we've shared openly when we began dancing out of the fog. And so you can see what a path has been, and also offer grace, like what it takes to get from here to there, and some of what transpired along the way. Maybe we're not, that was, we're not the same. We've grown. Let's put it that way. Like, we don't want to do that anymore. We don't want to exercise fighting spirit anymore. We'd rather play the other side of the card, play the adoption spirit side of the card. And so that is thrilling. We have support with Eris, Chiron, and Mars at 5 degrees in the first decan, where he's just like, oh, I'm just getting started on this. I'm backing you up. Of course I'm with you, sister. I'm backing you up. And I know I'm supposed to be all about war, but I can channel that sadness that's so sad it goes mad. I can channel that into adoption spirit magic instead, and channeling healing treatments instead. And any from the words I use, I can start swapping out fight, all the places I use fight, and I can use more peaceful words to the actions I take to the materials I possess, I can start gradually shifting all of that over to a high state of adoption, to flip over the fighting spirit card to play through with adoption spirit instead. Saturn, father, the father, discipline, making sure you did your homework. He's at 7 degrees of Aries, 31 minutes. Also assisting, saying, yeah, we can take practical, we can break this down, take practical steps, one step at a time. We can make this happen. I got your back. And Ceres, also in Aries, and Ceres is such a beautiful representation of adoption spirit magic, and she was so devastated. Her daughter Persephone, got taken by Hades, Pluto, into the underworld for half the year, and Ceres was so devastated. She wanted to hurt herself or someone else, but not really. So she decided, okay, instead of hurting myself or someone else, that my daughter's gone for half the year, what can I do? How can I channel that anger creatively? And she began farming. She turned to agriculture. So Ceres in Aries is also supporting this, turning over the fighting spirit card to play through with adoption spirit instead. I mean, she could have really gone aggro for Hades, taking Persephone away from her, right? And I know, I apologize. I'm going back and forth with the names from Roman to Greek, and I apologize in my pronunciation. And then we also have Neptune, 2 degrees of Aries, 47 minutes. Neptune, one of the outer planets, so he really has a lot of say. Saturn and Neptune have a lot of say as the outer planets, that they are in support of these changes, if that's what we choose to do, right? Aries is the cosmic law of action. So this may be showing you, you may be saying, yeah, the action I want to take is to flip over that fighting spirit card and to play through life with adoption spirit. And I don't even know what that really means yet, but I do know I'm ready to stop fighting and to do something different. And this sounds like something I can work with and make my own. And who else is in Aries? Mercury, 2 degrees of Aries, 40 minutes. Again, sparking the idea. So maybe you're starting to talk about this with yourself or with the people that you trust most. Maybe it's your spirit team. Maybe it's your family, your friends, your birth family, your adopted family, your foster family, your family that you have just created as your own, on your own authority. Chiron is also about alternative marriages. His wife was a healer. He had students, took on students. Students sought him out, let's put it that way. And there's this family-like atmosphere to heal and whatever we can do to accommodate. And so alternative marriages that may surprise you. Like if you're really to let yourself just, who do I want to evolve with? Who do I care to evolve with? And regardless of anything else, whereas in the low state of adoption, perhaps the top priority was, I don't know, you fill in the blank, right? So unconventional marriages that offer a light to others to think how they might want to partner up. And this 2 dice came out. 2 is a number of duality. It's so divine, success in everything you do, partnered with the divine, but it's also creating an equitable, balanced relationship that shares power, something that we have been looking for within our relationships with our parents, adoptives, birth, fosters, our families, our friends, our partners, our playmates, right? This balance, this equity, how can we share power where one's not lording over the other, or you fill in the blank. So what a gift. What a gift, all this energy in Aries, and to be able to have all these helpers help you flip that fighting spirit card over to play through loss with adoption spirit instead. And perhaps you're hearing this and you're like, no, it's not that, it's this. Thank you. Thank you for honoring yourself and seeing how this can work for you instead of just taking this hook, line, and sinker. This is how it has to be, right? These are what the planets are doing, and how you may take them a little differently than me. Especially, your birth chart may be very different than mine. And if you are not in possession of your birth chart, God bless it and us all. However you call God, we are sending you hugs and love and light and just feeling you from over here, and deep sympathies for that loss and all the losses attached to that, right? And it may seem like, oh, well, none of this is relevant to me. I don't even know my birth chart. But maybe you can take comfort in the fact that knowing that every single piece of this is in your birth chart. There's 12 cosmic laws, and each of them is associated with a zodiac, and you can just each year study the 12 cosmic laws, and maybe, I don't know, maybe you get a miracle and Source gives you your birth chart somehow. You just get it or know it, or it gets downloaded, or somehow it shows up. I'm not quite sure. The universe works in mysterious ways. I don't want to ruin the mystery for you, but I do just want to offer some sympathy for the loss of everything attached with losing a birth chart, and also when it feels right, if it feels right, that perhaps you may take comfort in looking at astrology in a different way, taking a different approach, and maybe it offers great relief to have this roadmap in the stars for you. So let's see what else. So Chiron. Okay, Chiron, he's big. So this is big news. This is like AI big news. Like, everything that's happened in 2026 with AI, and how quickly there's been such advancements this year, and people have been having to drop what they knew about AI so they can grab on the next new thing about AI, and learning that new skill, or fine tuning in that skill of being able to like grab the next monkey bar. You got to let go of a monkey bar, right? When you're on the playground, and this is our playground, right? We're playing through loss. We've decided we're here to stay. We're going to play through. And so what a beautiful gift. Monkey bars, monkey bars, monkey bars. Maybe doing some work on bars, whether it's a literal bar where you go and have your spirit and you have your meetings there, or a bar to do a pull-up on, or a bar to do, there's some really fascinating bars, workout bars that you can stretch on, like a ballet bar, or bars that you can switch their places and hang from, just to help your body. And this Aries energy has to do with your head, your blood. I'm thinking of now like a headstand, holding a headstand. There's a certain name for that, to help you manage this energy, because this Aries energy, it's like, very heady, and it could get headbutty, and you don't want to headbutt anymore because you're flipping the fighting spirit card over. You just want to climb the mountain or move the mountain, or you fill in the blank, what a blessed dream you want to achieve, care to achieve, desire to achieve. And so all the different ways that may help this Aries work, grounding that in, perhaps with colors, opposite colors. I'm feeling like this Aries energy is very fiery and red, and so maybe you pull in some blues to help calm it down. Maybe that turns it into purple and sends it right through your crown, or turns it brown and sends it through your feet, helps you ground and elevate. So many different ways you can help yourself integrate these energies and follow Chiron's lead, the sun shining the light on everything. And here's Persephone. Oh my. So Persephone, her symbol is supposed to be a pomegranate. So if I got it wrong, it looks like a Pisces if you're reading it this way, but look, here's a cup. There's a cup. There's a line. See the Libra sign? So we're reading it this way. So there's the sign for Persephone, Proserpina. The cosmic law of polarity is associated with this Libra energy, this balance. And that is, I believe that's Cupid, who I found very interesting, associated with Psyche, who will come up when we start talking about Taurus. But Cupid was betrayed by his wife, Psyche. I think that's how you say her name. And his mother helped Psyche pull her head out of her butt, and they, to, work things out. Like, shit happens, right? And, how to move through the shit that happened instead of just tossing the baby out with the bathwater, right? And so, again, talking about looping back to Chiron and these alternative marriages and how you might work through, whereas before fighting spirit, it's just like, no, you just cut one person off after another. But then when you think about that, that's really what creates orphans, right? And adoptees, right? And gypsies is all these people cutting people off, like from the teacher in the classroom cutting somebody off to parents and loved ones. Okay, I apologize for my camera. Let's see where we are going with this. So the Fehu rune up there and the Manaz rune, I am being called to share, guided to share while I'm trying to get this camera together. Isn't that funny? So let me just pause and see if I can take care of that light and still keep the video. And if not, maybe this is just wrapping up part 1 and then we're going to have a part 2. All right. So thank you so much for your patience, and we'll see you in a minute. Ciao for now. We love you all. Woohoo, we did it. We're back. Thank you so much. And so the cosmic law of polarity, I'm wondering, I'm just going to suggest or offer that you have your zodiac wheel so you can see where each lies on the zodiac wheel. And I think maybe Libra is opposite Aries. So it's like a color wheel, how they go together sometimes. And so you may enjoy checking that out for extra support or layers here. And so what else is supporting this new way of thinking? Oh, AI. Oh my God. I apologize. I know I was missing something. AI, how AI, so much has happened in 2026. We have this whole new language, this whole new AI language, and perhaps this adoption spirit is a whole nother language that is helping us move into the future. And so what else may support us learning this new language, this adoption spirit magic that Chiron brings, that the Romani bring? They're adopted into every nation around planet Earth practically. And what else in the stars is supporting this move if you choose to take it? And cosmic law of oneness, conscious Pisces energy, and the North Node, the true North Node, is at 7 degrees Pisces, 59 minutes. And Pisces is deeply spiritual. It can be on the low side, like you're in the fog. And so you may have heard me say, if you've been here before, we're dancing out of the fog of adoption fairy tales, gypsy myths, fighting spirit. And so this cosmic law of oneness, the true North Node, is also supporting that, saying, yeah, we're dancing out of the fog. We've got the fire has been lit. We are ready to move into a higher state of adoption where we honor how we are all one. We care to learn how to tolerate one another because we are all one. And so how to tolerate learners when we all are one? How do you tolerate everybody? Everybody's got their own learning curve, their own journey. And this law of oneness, sometimes fighting brings us together. That's how we sense it, but that's can lead to death and destruction. But adoption spirit may be another way we experience this oneness, where we are all deciding of our own free will, you know what? No, I don't want to fight anymore. In fact, let's transform our military into a healing, teaching homeschool, because we translate that mad call for war is really a distorted cry to care tenderly for the youth under 35 and all of their families, even the ones growing old. The amygdala's growing old, grief struck by loss, possessed by grief, authorizing cycles of fear, fight, flight, freeze, fuck, fawn, even them. And so that's thrilling, the possibility of really tending to the families and the youth in a way that's sustainable and exciting and creative and democratic, equitable, dignified, but also organic, individualized. So thrilling. And I'm getting caught up here. That's very, very exciting to be dancing out of the fog with you. And the possibility of that new way of life is just blossoming, and maybe you're feeling it too. The cosmic law of rhythm, conscious Virgo energy. The South Node is in Virgo. So the North Node, I apologize. The North Node is like where we're meant to go in this life, in this new direction. We came here knowing all of this. That's the South Node. We're really good at these routines, like all the routines in a low state of adoption to, keep that running from, overtraining, all the rigorous routines we do for our body to, appear perfect, right? So we can fit in and be selected for the team. We've had lots of practice at that. We're very familiar with that, but that's the South Node. But now we are starting to step away from that and learn a whole new routine, a whole new health routine, because now we want to live. We're not fighting to live anymore. We're living life worth living. And so we're stepping away from old routines and creating new ones. And that may take some time. Some may come quicker than others. So, having a heads up on that may seem helpful, right? The more you know, just so we can exercise gentleness with ourselves and be extra gentle with ourselves, and knowing the time we need is the time it takes. Other energy that's supporting this Chiron move, flipping the adoption spirit card over, flipping the fighting spirit card over to play through with adoption spirit. I apologize. I'm a little nervous because this is new for me. And so I apologize for misspeaking and stuttering here and there, and I am so thrilled to be doing this with you. And also, we are at 49 minutes, and that's rather long for me too. My sessions generally run 15 minutes to half an hour, maybe 45 minutes. So thank you for being patient with me if I am mixing up my words or sounding a little off. And let's see how we can run through the rest of this. I don't want to run. We don't have to rush anymore. All we got to do is go slow. That's our new motto in a high state of adoption. So let's see how we can move forward. So the cosmic law of compensation, this is Taurus energy. This is Taurus, like Aries. We have some horns here to contend with. And you may have heard the expression bull in a china shop. That's coming to me right now. But also all the helpful ways we see the bull. It's sacred in India, right? It feeds, oh my God, am I getting this right? Feeds the orphans in India. It milks the orphans in India, and it's sacred. You can't eat it. And holy cow. And I feel like I'm saying the wrong word, cow and bull. And so forgive me there for that misspeak. But the cosmic law of compensation, this is our self-value, our worth. And this extends to the finances in our world. And so with Uranus at 29 degrees of Taurus, this is, Uranus is almost ready to jump into Gemini, right? She's right at the end. She's like, yep, closing up, wrapping this up. How I end is how I begin. This is awesome. Did that, right? What, did that, got the t-shirt. What is it they say? And Uranus, this is evolutionary beginnings. Some people would say revolutionary, but since we're flipping over the fighting spirit card and playing through loss with adoption spirit instead, we say evolutionary. So this is really evolutionary energy. And some may see it as earth shaking, ground breaking, breaking glass ceilings, by flipping, simple move of flipping this card. And no, it's not a simple move, right? It's, the loss is so much that, so many have lost control, like they lost control of harnessing it, and devastation has happened, and now we're doing something different. So Bacchus may help. Bacchus' symbol, the god of wine and debauchery. It's this is supposed to be a pine cone staff. He's in Taurus, reminding us, okay, this is, have fun with this. Not saying to become obliterated, but how can we have fun with these big changes? How can we play through these big changes when we've been playing the fighting spirit all these years, decades, lifetimes, and now we're doing adoption spirit instead? How can we have fun with this? How can we make amends and have fun with this? Even though all that happened, like people died, right? We might even have tried to take our own life. We might have taken our own life in past lives. And so how to play through making amends now that we are here and we are choosing to do something different. How do you play through that? Bacchus is here to help. Again, not advice to become obliterated, but to play, to really emphasize that play. And Venus is at 21 degrees of Taurus. Really saying, yes, this is about your self-love. You're ready to love yourself in a whole new way. You've learned how to hold capacity for your own needs, coming from a place where you were just essentially a slave, an emotional support pet, meeting others' needs. You didn't know your own needs because you were tuned to meet the needs of others before your own. Perhaps you were forbidden to speak your own truth about your adoption or your heritage, and you didn't even know what your heart wanted. You didn't even know what your favorite color was. You didn't even know what to say. All of the things that go along with being in a low state of adoption, where you are expected to act as an emotional support pet. And now we don't have to do that. And Venus is here to say, yay, you. Look how far you've come. You did that all on your own. I mean, yes, of course, you had your source and your spirit team to help, but you decommissioned your amygdala to stop cycling that fear, fight, flight, freeze, fuck, fawn, and to do something different. You flipped over the fighting spirit card to play through loss with adoption spirit instead. Yay, you. Venus is here to support that. And then this is Psyche, who is married to Cupido, who betrayed him. Mother-in-law found out and it's like, oh no, you're going to write that wrong. She's like, all right, yeah, you're right. I fucked up. Let me fix that. And Cupido's like, awesome. Thank you. I accept your apology. Yes, we can renegotiate our social contract. That would be fabulous. In fact, why don't we just take this time every year to renegotiate our social contract? What's working, what's not? What are you going to do? What am I going to do? What are you going to do? What am I going to do? We can just revisit it seasonally if you want, annually if you want. Yes, I'm down with that. Let's renegotiate the social contract, and instead of you feeling like I'm your slave or I'm feeling like you're my slave, or however, vice versa, we're feeling like each other's slaves. Instead of that, let's do something different. Let's have an justified, where did that come from? Let's have an equitable relationship. Justified, just. Something about Taurus is just. Plowing the fields, just. Yes, sustainable. So what's sustainable in all of this? What is sustainable? What do you need in a day? Body needs. Just keeping it super simple. Like in a low state of adoption, we just let that thing hurt until, it fell off. In high states of adoption, we're not doing that anymore. So paying attention to our body needs and tuning in daily and being so gentle. And then what are the routines in a day to take care of our body now? So gentle to help us maintain our optimum health. Playful, gentle. What is it? And so you might find that supportive. And making up also for everything that happened in a low state of adoption. What happened in a low state of adoption is so much that people killed themselves and others, and that's challenging to overcome, to say the least. But this cosmic law of compensation helps with that, and the notion that life continues after the so-called earthly passage of death also assists with that. And if life carries on after death, and lifelong learning just got really long, and that's super exciting because we love learning. And cosmic law of transmutation of energy, conscious Scorpio energy, super relevant, but I don't have any planetary aspects about that, but a quick short note that may be of assistance, that the low, middle, high level of Scorpio, like the low state of adoption Scorpio, is a scorpion. So in a low state of adoption, Scorpio acts like a scorpion, killing others and themselves when threatened. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, me too. And in a middle state of adoption, Scorpio rises like a phoenix from the ashes. And in a high state of adoption, Scorpio, pardon me, turns into the eagle and is able to, I think these are Paramahansa Yogananda's words, fly over the vast tracts of my imagination. So low, middle, and high. Scorpion, phoenix rising from the ashes, eagle. So we all have Scorpio placements in us, and some more than others. Like, oh my God, our birth chart. There's been a lot of practice here in this section. And that notion of the low, middle, and high state of adoption, and Scorpio being the scorpion or the phoenix rising from the ashes or the eagle, was really helpful to us to help evolve our scorpion energy, scorpionic lessons. And so perhaps you may appreciate that as well. And Black Moon Lilith here, this is Black Moon Lilith. She was mated or paired up with Adam before Eve. Yeah, she's like, oh no, thank you. I'm out. I am not down with this social contract. It is not for me. So that cosmic law of abundance is conscious Sagittarius energy. Sagittarius is ninth house. It's our philosophies. And when we're talking about flipping over the fighting spirit card to play through loss with adoption spirit instead, that's it. It's a big move, but it's a little move, isn't it? It's so subtle, but it's not at all. So Black Moon Lilith at 13 degrees of Sagittarius, she's like, oh yeah, she's been working it. She's like, she is in prime form. She's like, oh yeah, we're doing it. I am here to support you in that if you need. We're going that way to a high state of adoption, equitable social contracts. whoever you're with, however you decide to set it up, as long as it's equitable and dignified, that's the main standard. And we don't care, right? If, oh, you don't take out the trash because we've arranged something different. We're doing it different, right? We have had a conversation and we agree to continue to have conversations so these relationships remain equitable and dignified. And, maybe it's a threesome instead of a twosome. Maybe that's the unconventional relationship. Or maybe it's, you fill in the blank, if you are ready to share and go out of the closet, right? All the different ways it can play out. Always a beautiful healing family can play out, when we create equitable social contracts that have an easy in and easy out clause where nobody gets raped, right? And that, I know that was alarming. I apologize. That is reminding me of how Romany referred to what most people call the Holocaust. Romany referred to it as the great devouring rape. Obaro poriamos. And, subtly that looks like, people telling you what to do, people talking down to you. There's so many subtle ways the rape happens before the rape before the rape. And flipping over the fighting spirit card to play through loss with adoption spirit instead is one play that may help there. And, it's occurring to us to share. There are 7 two-faced cards. Each human appears to get dealt with each loss as they adopt new life each time, right? Each loss you get, 7 cards, two-faced cards. They're the same two-faced cards. They're in your deck. And those cards are loss, grief, rejection, identity, mastery and control, guilt and shame, and intimacy. And so the intimacy, the identity, like these lost cards explain all the fuckery. Like, oh, we can put down the Epstein files. We can put down the war files. We can put down all of those things like that. Understanding, oh yeah, that falls into a low state of adoption. That's the intimacy card. That's the guilt and shame card. That's the mastery and control card. That's the rejection card. That's the grief card. That's the loss card. They all have their place, and perhaps that offers some relief, right? It's in your stack of cards. You can put it up on the shelf and relax, knowing that there's another side to that card. And I've got a whole new way of looking at it. In a high state of adoption, we no longer see bad, evil, good. We don't see that spectrum. Instead, we tend to the spectrum of loss. And so perhaps some of these tidbits assist with this Chiron journey, this Chiron report. And I know we're jumping all over the place, but maybe that's what needs to happen. Maybe that's some of the energy. It's like Aries, he's jumping from this rock to that rock to this rock to that rock. So feel free to stop, pause, rewind, come back. The drill. In this YouTube university, you get to drive this, right? And make it work for you, or change the channel if it's not working for you. And this is something that you could probably spend the rest of the spring going through, coming back to, instead of trying to force feed it all in one session. Let's see what else. Cosmic Law of Vibration. This is conscious Gemini energy. I love this because every time I look at this now, I see the student and the teacher, and there is a student and a teacher inside of all of us. And of course, the twins, so many other different ways to describe that. I'm not going into too much detail for each of these because it's so fun for you to do that yourself and see what resonates for you. And I want to leave that for you, that enjoyment for you, instead of spoiling the mystery. So the student and teacher inside of you, this new way of education that we're stepping into, and perhaps Chiron is helping, perhaps 2020 helped us learn that maybe we really do want to transform the military police into healing, teaching, homeschool, and do something different. And there's a student and teacher in all of us, and we can just each have our own deck of cards. We're following the stars. That's our baseline, our standard, our something we can rest in as we weave in and out of other curriculum like mathematics or history or wherever our interests lead us, art, performing arts. So thrilling. So this Sedna is in Gemini, and Sedna has a tremendously long orbit. I mean, like, I don't, is it 11,000 years? I mean, it's something super long like that. And Sedna's mythology, you can check it out more yourself, but by some account, she was thrown overboard by her father, who was upset at her for marrying a dog. And when she tried to get back in the ship, he chopped her fingers off, and her fingers fell to the bottom of the ocean and became the dolphins that she ended up playing with. And I know, yes, sounds so morbid and horrible, but then Sedna, that Inuit goddess of the deep sea, teaches us how to overcome such tragedy, how to flip the fighting spirit card. Like, she could have held that resentment for lifetimes. And maybe she has, and she's learning how to flip over that card to play through with adoption spirit instead. And that cosmic law of vibration, that's also Mercury verbalizing, perhaps singing, chanting, shaman work assists you with this. That sound is so powerful. Each sound is a healing power, and the solfeggio frequencies may assist you, helping soothe you as you're going through these phases. Maybe instead of watching old programming from adoption spirit, low state of adoption spirit, like murder mysteries in the news, maybe now you're just listening to sound healings, solfeggio frequency or chakra healing music, all the different ways. Maybe humming, maybe you're taking up throat singing, all the different ways. It's such a way to shift your energy from a low to high state of adoption, because we're human. It happens almost daily. Like, oh my God, get tripped into a low state of adoption. It happens. And so how do you shift yourself back up? And vibration may be this opportunity, from using our voice to becoming our own student and teacher and leading ourselves along more. Maybe our whole education model changes to something more along those lines with excitement. Like, how thrilling. Like, I think people really, looking back at homeschooling since 2020, people are looking back like, whoa, wait, maybe we could really work this to our advantage. And the cosmic law of relativity, conscious Cancer energy, again, this is home energy, parent energy, Jupiter here, he just passed a world point. Like, this is big for the whole world. This is huge, this planet of expansion and just beauty, prosperity. 17 degrees, 11 minutes of Cancer, and really backing up Chiron and creating a new safe home. What new homeland security looks like. How do you ensure homeland security? Home, school, land. How do you do it? How can we ensure that every student succeeds, that nobody gets kicked out of home, school, business, nation? How do we make sure that we don't discard anybody? And I'm thinking of the homeless. Like, we want people to have the home if that's what they want, instead of feeling like, instead of, well, we've seen it. We see it. People getting kicked out of the classroom, kicked out of the home, kicked off the planet. And if we choose to flip over the fighting spirit card to play through loss with adoption spirit anymore, we're not doing that anymore. So what do we do instead? And I think, people are so smart, and they just they can't stop but solving these very complex problems. So I have a sense that more solutions are going to become apparent, how to make these safe homes. And maybe it is the military transforming into a healing, teaching homeschool as part of it. And so no longer are youth being primed to fight for us, and no longer are adults adopted into nations in exchange for military service. We're doing something instead, and maybe we've already seen bits and pieces of it around, and now we're getting even more ideas about how to improve upon that. So that is thrilling. Cosmic law of detachment, conscious Aquarius energy reminds us, don't get too attached. Like, we're all going to die anyways. We're all crossing over at some point anyways, and this we're playing through. So how to detach, and Pluto helps with that. And Pluto is at 5 degrees of Aquarius, 25 minutes, and Pluto in Capricorn, 2008, that's when we began dancing out of the fog of adoption fairy tales, gypsy myths, fighting spirit. That's when we began dismantling our low state of adoption. And fast forward to 2026, here we are. We are stepping back in a whole new way. And perhaps you are doing the same, or you're at some stage of the process there. Maybe now, like we were just stepping out in 2008 and 2009, and maybe now you're just stepping out. Or maybe you joined us back in 2008 too. You get the drift. So Pluto may help. And for more on Pluto, you can investigate yourself how he may help. But that dismantling was just a quick example. And Juno, 4 to 5 degrees of Aquarius, speaking more to that adoption spirit, supporting that move, flipping over the fighting spirit to play through loss with adoption spirit instead. At the bottom, last but not least, we have this cosmic law of karma. That's my Capricorn, symbol for Capricorn. Forgive me if it's not looking fabulous, perfect. I enjoy doing it that way. There's a couple ways you can draw the Capricorn sign, but I'm looking at that and saying it doesn't look quite right. So God bless it and us all. And the cosmic law of attraction, conscious Leo energy, which Apollo is at 0 degrees of Leo, I think, right now, which is interesting because Leo adopted Chiron and this law of attraction. Like, what we think is what we attract. And oh my God, we've been trying to do all this quote unquote good, all this good. We've been fighting to do all this good, but then we are attracting more fighting, because that's how the law of attraction works. And now we can be like, oh, I can just flip over that card. God bless it and us all. I forgive myself. I forgive others. Maybe it takes me maybe it takes me longer some days than others to forgive. Maybe, nobody's perfect. Life's for learning to tolerate, starting with self. And I'm improving and not playing the flip side of that card that says, she'll never learn, off with the head. So that is the long Chiron report, playing through losses that are so much that we want to hurt ourselves or others, but not really. We'd rather play our cards through our loss, from crisis to diaspora to surviving to thriving, and most blessed dreams coming through true. And we hope that this has offered some ideas about next steps and about that Fey rune up here. That's the Fey rune. And that is the outcome of that rune helps give power over one's environment, and its meaning is wealth, prosperity, opulence. And on the low side of that, it could be cowardice or slavery. And that is from the Cheops book. And then more about that Fehu from this runes book for educational purposes, please. Thank you. That Fehu is livestock. Isn't that fun? Because we were talking about Taurus, which in some places is considered livestock. And the period for Fehu is June 29th through July 13th. The time period, 12:30 to 1:29 p.m. And the response is trust, recovery, gain, trade, offspring. Something hidden comes to light. Evolution, evasion, beware of frauds. So that's Fehu, the Fehu rune. And so interesting. The offspring was jumping out at me, the trade, and like how orphans and adoptees have been offspring and trade, and we're flipping that over and take it and playing adoption spirit instead. And evolutionary. It's evolutionary. I am so curious to hear what you think about that. And then the Manaz rune you see there on the other side, that's happening right now. The time period is right now, and more specifically, the date. And it means man. Manaz means man. It stands for the letter M. The Fehu rune stands for the letter F, by the way. The time period for Manaz, oh my God, I am so sorry. That's incorrect. No? Oh, yes, this is right. 14th of April through 29th of April. And the time is 7:30 a.m. to 8:29 a.m. And the responses are mediation, influence, idealism, autonomy, a suffered but certain legal victory, possible betrayal, and love. And just reading those words again, it just is jumping out at me. Low to high states of adoption and the differences between the two. And this high state of adoption, we're mediating and we're earning that. We are earning autonomy. We are delivering ourselves autonomy. And we're winning, even though there has been suffering and betrayal in the past. And we're overcoming that. We're forgiving. And of course, don't force the fit. Like if this isn't working for you and you're like, oh no, this is not for me, right? Don't do something because it sounds like, we're telling you what to do. That's not what's happening. We just want to offer a little wiggle room for you. So the Manaz is also the outcome of Manaz. It increases understanding and awareness of others and yourself. This is about connection to others, cooperation, mediation. And so what a fortuitous rune to come up with this Chiron report as the sun is shining its light on Chiron and Chiron's journey. Eris is there to help. The moon's right in on it. All about changing that state of adoption to a high state of adoption, moving from a low to a high state of adoption and doing things in a totally different way. And pardon me, a spiritualist healer is aware that once stress is removed from the mind and emotions, that the body responds naturally, which brings about holistic healing and the patient. And in that way, pardon me, this information, this Chiron report may help on multiple levels, on an emotional level and also a physical level, right? Because our emotions sometimes impact our health, we have seen from our experience. And so that definition about the spiritual healer was from the National Spiritualist Association of Churches. And spiritualist healers work with the spirit, mind, emotions, and body of the recipient. And they also work in collaboration with the medical community because, of course, the medical community is also an instrument of the infinite intelligence. And so you may enjoy exploring the National Spiritualist Association of Churches for more on that yourself. And also Cindy Dale, she's an author, an intuitive, a healer, and has written many wonderful books on subtle energy healing, from subtle energy anatomy to how to stay protected in work, love, and life. I think coloring books as well. But she says on page 23 of her subtle body anatomy, I think that's where it was, as a practitioner of subtle energy medicine, when you work with the fields generated by a group of atoms or even a single atom, you can potentially determine the health or needs of those atomic structures, thus promoting healing. And so these bits and pieces may offer some wiggle room, some space for you to dreamweave, some dream space time, help you expand time and space to weave your dreams in the highest love and light. And what else am I seeing for you here? Perhaps this Chiron report helps you move from this place where you felt stuck between two places, not knowing where to go, but you felt like you could really just balance here and just, I could just stay here and look good, but doesn't really feel so wonderful. And I really love these people here and those people there, but oh man, the situation is really challenging. I wish there was a way out. Perhaps this helped. Perhaps this helped figure out some next steps and helps you step out of that stuck space or that cold space and heal from the 10 swords in your back, and to own your truth, and to step into your King and Queen of Wands, that generous, kind, on fire, lit, loving, trustworthy, cozy, homey, loving person that you are, and there for yourself first and foremost, because you know you are worth it. And you also know when you take care of yourself, then you're able to help others too. And also, knowing when you got to step out again, right? And perhaps this also helps overcome some of those feelings of just frustration and like, oh my God, I got these 4 cups. I don't want any of these 4 cups. That 4 cups energy. And helps you enjoy your mystery, that Knight of Wands energy. Perhaps this Chiron's report helps you start enjoying the mystery of your life again and get you excited about your life again with these different options, flipping over the fighting spirit to play through loss with adoption spirit instead, and also just appreciating yourself for how far you have come and how much you have grown, and how this opposition has helped make you stronger, and you wouldn't change it for anything because it made you the person you are today, to be the person who had the courage to flip over the fighting spirit card and play through loss with adoption spirit instead. So thrilling. Thank you so much for taking such sweet care of yourself, for playing with yourself, your cards, for steering clear of danger. We are in awe of you, your energy, essence, and arts. If you are curious and want more, you may check out the first Chiron report, and also our social media. You may flip through it like a stack of tarot. We are in the middle of our annual low-key folk art affair, so that may be fun to flip through our socials to see what's happening. And if that's not sounding like fun, we totally get it. Totally cool. We just so enjoy being able to spend some time with you here, sitting with you here for the spell, and whichever way you choose to go, may you trust. 7 days a week. You are loved. Ciao for now. We love you all.